welcome to our weekly show Tea Talk, where we'll be discussing latest updates, news, what's buzzing on the social media, and all that you need to know to have that ease of living in this beautiful country. This week we have decided to talk about the current political situation that has folded in Pakistan, and for that matter we have invited a Pakistani national who has been based in the Sultanate of Oman for more than 40 years. So without further ado, let's welcome Arshad Ali Khan, who is a legal and management consultant. Thank you so much, Mr. Arshad, for taking out time and joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here over our show, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, Madiha. Thank you very much. First of all, I must thank you as well as your media house, who has provided this opportunity to talk on a very important subject of the current affairs of Pakistan, which is really prevailing current situation to talk about. Everybody's talking about it. And thank you for giving me a chance to give my point of view on the subject.
Absolutely, Mr. Arshad. It's absolutely our pleasure to actually, bring this topic into light and to talk a little bit about in detail how the current situation is folding or has been folded in Pakistan. Now, you have been here for over 4 decades and you have been closely monitoring the current political situation in Pakistan. How do you see the shift?
Actually, Madiha, despite the fact that I have been overseas Pakistani for quite some time now, most of my age is outside Pakistan. But look into my background, I have been a very active student leader at my time. And due to my academic background, I have been a student of political science and law, and have been watching very closely development of my country, for which I am son of the soil. So obviously, it is very relevant to tell you about this current situation. Of course, it is very shocking and very surprising to all the Pakistanis abroad, in particular, and even within the country, because the way the government have been changed during the last 75 years of our existence on the globe as a country after partition. We have never experienced this kind of situation politically. There have been takeover by the military. There have been different times in which governments have been changing, but not the way it is done now. So the court was open at midnight, and of course there was no military movement, thanks God. But yes, it is very unprecedented, I would say.
Yes.
Yes, very
Mr. Arshad, you said something about the court was open in the midnight, and what I have been noticing, the whole debate is going around about Imran Khan or his government not respecting the constitution. Now, when we're talking about the constitution, what is that whole debate about? What is the constitution?
Very relevant question. My personal perspective is that it's so unfortunate, after having 75 years of separation from India as an independent country. On most of the televisions today, we still find people, anchors, defining the constitution and its clauses. And there is a big controversy about it. In my point of view, the constitution has got its written law, and every institution has got their own jurisdiction. I will not be judgmental, but obviously being a student of law, I can read the constitution. And constitutionally, they have not done it properly with Imran Khan. Let me put it on air that I am not at all politically affiliated with any of the party, though I have my sympathies with my country, and I will always remain loyal to my country. But Constitution has not been, implemented properly. Constitution is a written law. It doesn't have a gray area. It is black or white. But the way it has been, exercised, different articles are being narrated in a different manner, but nobody has come out with a complete explanation, and the nation is in a chaos. And that is one of the reasons that Imran Khan has been able to take a very strong reaction from the nation. Another thing I would like to tell you that Imran Khan, we talk about Imran Khan, in Pakistani politics, Imran Khan is one of those politicians who does not come from a traditional, conventional political background as such. You
Right.
have to understand it. Because in Pakistan, we have inherited from British colony to different countries, India, Pakistan, and then the system that was inherited to us was given by lords, landlords, waderas. This part of Pakistan, we had landlords, waderas, chaudhries, and sardars.
Right.
So within that system, the political domination was predominantly by that class of people always. And that is one of the reasons that Imran Khan is not from that class. He's a sportsman and he doesn't play foul, but this time he has been trapped. And that is why he has been able to win a lot of sympathy from the public within the country and overseas.
Yes. Talking about winning the sympathies, Arshad Saab, I think, if I'm not wrong, this is the first time ever in the history of Pakistan, or I might be, wrong, maybe in the history of the world, that so many people have come out in Pakistan, especially big cities like Karachi, Lahore, Peshawar, supporting the stance of Imran Khan, because they felt that what happened to Imran Khan, the way he was removed from his post, was wrong. How do you see that situation? Do you think the way he was removed from being a prime minister of the country, just overnight, was fair or wrong?
You see, you have to understand one thing. In 2018, when he won the election, he did not have a thunder majority in the parliament. And unfortunately, he is not the only prime minister. None of the prime ministers have ever completed 5 years in his seat. That is an unfortunate part of history, because one way or the other, either the military intervention was done, or probably many other political confrontations could not make any prime minister to complete their tenure of 5 years as per constitution. In his case, he had an alliance government in which you have to combine other parties to join you in the government, and you have to give them different ministries and make a team and to work together. I have been watching the incidents very closely. He has been at full length, very compromising with all his coalition friends and alliance. But unfortunately, the manipulation and maneuvering of the opposition. The opposition parties were financially very strong. They have been ruling the country for more than 3 times prime ministers and chief ministers. So they had a very strong, roots in the political, especially in Punjab. And they have been manipulated. They have been manipulating Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Yes.
And eventually, when everybody joined hands, and they have toppled his government unconstitutionally. In my opinion, it's unconstitutional.
Yes. What I have been noticing on media, Pakistani media, Mr. Arshad, that what the analysis are saying that to take him down off his seat, the current government that has been formed lately had to actually collide. They had to come together to topple him off the current seat that he had. Now, when you are seeing that situation, Mr. Arshad, how do you see the formation of the current government that, in the past, they were not even, seeing eye to eye, and now they are working together?
I think being a journalist, Madiha, you are being very polite in your language. They have been not eye to eye, they have been more than that to each other. And the language they have used in their open speeches and in their statements in the media, they have been horrible. It's on record. Both the parties, the major 2 parties, Pakistan People's Party and Muslim League Noon, Nawaz Sharif's party, they have not been at all into good relationship at all. But what happened before the death of Benazir Bhutto, there was a concept given that we should compromise and try to be together to run the country. During that process, when she came back after Musharraf's time, so they created another amendment in the Constitution that is called 18th Amendment. Because both could join hands together in the Parliament and to have two-third majority so that they can pass the bills. And this 18th Amendment in the Constitution has brought them together to compromise for the power and wealth. And they made a lot of wealth and a lot of money during last 10 years. Now, since he won over, so they could not digest him. And eventually they had to come together. They were complete rivals. Now they are all together. And by the way, when you are interviewing me today, this morning, there's an oath ceremony. The ministers have been taken from both sides, and they have taken an oath this morning in the President House of Pakistan. And they are taking oaths in the name of Allah in Pakistan that we will be loyal to this country, to the Constitution. The same Constitution they have been taking oath for the last 50 years. It is so unfortunate. Yes, I see from my perspective how many oaths we will take and how many oaths we will violate, and where do we violate and where do we take an oath. And by the way, it is again an unfortunate, many of the ministers who have taken oath today, including our President Prime Minister, they are on bail from the court.
Yes.
For the criminal cases. That's a point of embarrassment. And I do not mind accepting this fact. It is embarrassing being a Pakistani. It is not fair, no. Morally, it is not fair. Morally, it is not fair. I am not being judgmental whether they are guilty or not guilty. No, not at all. I have no right to say that, being a legal person. But morally, it is right, because they have been accused, they have been charges against them in the court, and they should exonerate themselves before they come and take an oath.
Right.
That is my moral stand.
I was just going to ask you your opinion on this, that now, you know, being a Pakistani citizen and being an overseas Pakistani, how do you see the country being run by people like the current Prime Minister, who has been bailed on, you know, corruption charges and money laundering and so on? How are your sentiments when you look back into your country and you see that these are the rulers and these are the leaders of the country?
Madiha, at my age, I feel very embarrassed to even talking to your generation. Similar questions are being asked for my children, who are probably older than you. And people of my age and seniority, we are a generation which we are answerable to our children. We got them educated, they are highly educated children, and they come and ask these questions. Exactly, your question is very logical. And we are very embarrassed to answer this question, that how can a person who is standing in the court accused for very important criminal allegations, and they become ministers, they become prime ministers, and they are taking oath, and they will run the country, and they will control the economy, and they will be holding our exchequer. There is no reply. And I hope the sense will prevail that people at the helm of the affairs will definitely look into it, because they are equally Pakistani like me. They are watching, and similar questions are with them as well. It's not your question, it is millions of youngsters, they are asking the same questions, which is very logical question.
Right. And now, Mr. Arshad, what I've also noticed that, you know, the Imran Khan's party, political party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, they have been saying that there has been foreign intervention in the country. Now, you being the legal expert, and you have seen so much, how far do you think this is true? Has there been a foreign intervention, or how much can we blame to this foreign intervention?
Very, very important question, and sensitive also. See, after colonization, my personal perspective is that after the British colonization, India and Pakistan became independent according to the legal definition, sovereign country. I personally don't think that we have been fully sovereign, because what I have been watching in the history, one way or the other, these superpowers, they have been a part of our policy indirectly, and that has been a fact. We have gone through wars. India and Pakistan has gone through wars. They were the mediators, or probably somewhere, probably they were also instrumental. I don't know, but the history has got many books to say. The recent, situation that Pakistan has gone through with Afghanistan.
Yes.
Americans, they came over, they bombed Afghanistan, they were using Pakistani airports to use their aircrafts to do drone attacks. As a result of repercussion, the Afghanis, they were rebelling against Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And we have a very big border with Afghanistan. Pakistan has got a very long border, more than 1,000, probably 800 square meter of length. So, and there is a common culture and language next to Pakistan on that northern side and Afghanistan. The pinch that Pakistan army has taken, the losses that we have taken, the human life, and financially also. As compared to the losses, I agree with Imran Khan that the compensation which have been given is peanut. The human suffering that we have gone through, the human loss of the Pakistan army, young children, young soldiers, young captains, young majors have died. Many of the families, they have been victims. Children's school have been, bombed. Mosques have been bombed. During last 10, 15 years, we have seen a lot of chaos in Pakistan. We have suffered the serious law and order situation. And of course, it affects an economy. Right. And we are not a very strong economy. That is one of the weak reasons in which we have to go back to the international financial institutions to help to run the economy. We have to go to IMF, we have to go to World Bank. And answering your question, the intervention is not a direct intervention, it is through the international financial institutions. If I'm a borrower and I'm financially under debt with somebody, and if I'm trying to say something against my self-respect, I get a call, please adjust your loan, or come and do the readjustment. So it's a kind of situation the international politics is playing on. Right. It's a geopolitical and economic politics going on. And then secondly, we have a very corrupt system. And in corrupt system, it's very easy to get these kind of elements in a society, which you can fund them and manipulate in the whole system.
Right.
So your question is that yes, there have been intervention, because the Prime Minister, which I have no reasons not to believe him, he said yes, there was a message in which it was openly said through our ambassador that we have to remove Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Right.
And the sense would have been that our superior judiciary should have made a commission, a judicial commission, constituted and headed by a very senior Supreme Court judge, and they should have very judicially investigated this issue. How is this going on, and who are the culprits, and who are the ones who are front runners? And things would have come on the face instead of changing the Prime Minister and changing the government and creating a chaos in the streets.
Absolutely.
Now, millions of people are coming out.
The whole dynamics of Pakistan currently has been changed.
Absolutely.
People have taken on the streets, children, women, senior citizens, you name it, and everybody is out on the street. Despite that, it is the holy month of Ramadan. People will be fasting.
Yes.
You see protests being held right after Sahur, right after Isha and Taraweeh prayers. And talking on those lines, Mr. Arshad, do you think that these kind of protests, these kind of rallies that we have been seeing for the past couple of weeks, they are actually going to have a positive outcome? We'll see something positive changing?
Knowing the history, I'm very skeptical about the whole situation, and I'm not a pessimist person, but optimistically speaking, things are not going in a right direction. If they don't announce early elections within the next 3 to 4 months, not that far, in my personal opinion, there will be something serious. In order to calm down the masses, the public, as you very rightly said, from old age people to the youngest, they are coming during Ramadan. This is a serious indication and very alarming that something serious may happen, which we cannot sustain. It's better to announce a fair election, hold an election, and let those people come who are elected by the people.
Right.
And it will be very fair game. I hope. I'm wishful that it should happen.
I hope so too.
Yes.
Now, my last question for you, Mr. Rashid, is that in all this situation, you know, how do you see the role of Pakistani citizens living abroad? Because I remember there were a lot of protests being held in different parts of the world as well. Now, in this situation, what kind of advice would you give to the Pakistani expats living especially in the Sultanate of Oman?
Well, in Sultanate of Oman, I always tell my community whenever I get a chance to talk to them and address them for different occasions and events, I tell them, we are living in a beautiful country which provides you a lot of opportunities to say what you want, but you have to respect the law of this country. The law of this country is very simple and straightforward. Sultanate of Oman does not like to interfere into other countries' affairs. And that is what I understood convincingly in my bones, that this is the real definition of an independent and sovereign country. And they also don't allow someone to interfere into their affairs.
Right.
And that is called the reciprocity of the international diplomatic norms and rules. You are living in a host country, respect the law of that country, and you don't interfere into their country. We Pakistanis are about 250,000 people here, as you know, and there was no protest. There were some sectors, they tried to ask and take approval from the concerned authority, because here you cannot do such political objective gatherings without prior approval from the concerned authority. People must know this law, because this situation is sensitive. It's a political subject. So it was not allowed. But I'm talking to you, you're asking me, we are in Oman and it's Omani media, but we have to respect the law of the country. You cannot go in the street and create a law and order situation,
right,
which they don't like it for themselves. And being a foreign community, we are here but yes, we will not go on the street, but yes, we are. But WhatsApp is very active, Facebook is active. Today is a media time. Everybody is saying what they want. So generally people are not very happy what is going.
Yes.
In UK, in UAE, in other countries, there have been a lot of protests.
Yes.
You can see it in the media, international media, as you know, you are a media person.
Yes, absolutely. On that note, Mr. Arshad, I would like to thank you for taking out time and having such a fruitful and, in-depth conversation with us on the current political situation of Pakistan. I would like to thank you once again for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madiha, and your media house have been always there for our community, for all the communities, to provide them such opportunity, especially in such sensitive issues. Very kind of you, and my gratitude for everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arshad.
Thank you.
For more interesting and videos, stay tuned and keep watching TTV.